Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Dak Chats. Real quick, gotta go feed horses. Awesome, Mona. Yeah, we'll welcome you on back when you get back. Real quick, guys, anyone that's in the chat right now, go ahead and just make sure you can hear me if you can. If everything sounds good, just let me know in the chat. I've been playing around with a lot of stuff, so I gotta make sure that that's still staying up and good. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining. We hit a big milestone for our channel anyway. Today we hit 60 subs. So grateful to have you guys here. This channel is growing, and honestly, I didn't even think I'd hit that mark. So the fact that we're just continuing to go up and up is really awesome. So I'm really glad to see that. Yeah, another great episode tonight. It was a lot of just kind of catching up. So not a ton of like momentum and moving forward, but that is kind of how Sunday episodes do tend to go. So but we'll just go ahead and jump right on into it. So we come back from the eviction, and we talk about Turner saying, or I guess not really come back from the eviction, but starting with the beginning of the pre-HOH comp. Turner talks about how he was super happy with how this week ended. They got out a big target. The leftovers formed this week. They got everyone in and were able to execute, the eviction really well. And they even have everyone that's not in the leftovers just absolutely bamboozled. Jasmine, sorry, jumping ahead. Alyssa is talking about how she is completely blindsided by everything that happened. She goes running crying to Nicole, and Nicole talks about, Nicole just keeps saying, wow, so upset by everything that went on. We see Michael telling Alyssa that, and Jasmine, yeah, I did vote Amira out. And she, they're all trying to figure out, they're all trying to piece this together. And Michael's talking about how I can't lie to them, because if I lie and I try and cover it up, it's just going to look like I'm digging myself a deeper hole. And it's kind of obvious, that he would be lying. There's really no way to cover it up at that point. And that was kind of what I was thinking, was how are Michael and Brittany going to spin this? Because I personally didn't hear a lot of that on the feeds most of last week. Hearing them talking about how they were planning on spinning their votes. And so, because, I know that there was a lot of talk about whether or not Daniel and or Nicole was going to actually vote. They were hoping that both of them would vote to keep Amira. They knew they were talking about doing some pity votes, and they were both hoping that they would both keep, or they were hoping both of them would vote to keep Amira, because then they could blame two of those votes on them. So they're not getting away as squeaky clean as they were hoping to, but I think they've done a fairly decent job bouncing back from kind of the craziness of it. Hey, we really appreciate that, Mona. Yeah, like we said, all the love and support we can get, we really appreciate around here. It means the world to me that you guys have been so supportive and trying to help this channel grow. It really does. But yeah, so everyone's just hysterical. Nicole is talking a lot about how upset she is that she didn't get to spend the time telling Amira Bai that she did with Terence. That's all she's focused on. And, it's kind of common when people are backed into a hole like this, they just find one thing to latch onto, even though that it really doesn't matter. You can sit there on the feeds and say goodbye to her all you want. And when you get out, if, we're not assuming that you're going to be out on Friday, she'd have plenty of time in just a couple months. The show ends in late September. So we're approaching August. You got plenty of time to say all your goodbyes. You don't have to keep worrying and stressing. I'm sure she knows you love her, So anyway, we get a lot of Nicole repeating that in the first few minutes, about how upset she is that she didn't get to tell her bye. She wasted 2 or 3 days telling Terence bye. And I'm sure there is also a level of embarrassment there. We all saw that bit where she was talking to Terence, telling her, hey, unfortunately, you are going to be leaving and all this stuff. So a lot of this is, I feel like it's probably just bouncing back from some of the embarrassment that she dealt with doing that. Maureen, you found us from TV Talks Tom. Hey, well, thanks for joining. We're really happy to have you here. You had a lot of contribution last stream, and it was really nice going back and forth. But yeah, and Nicole, she's just upset about how, now she doesn't know what's going on, and she's going to have to try and piece this together and just figure out where to go from here. So a lot of just kind of recapping, some of that initial. I thought it was interesting getting to kind of see the in-between commercial breaks. That's always fun for me watching that. The fact that they let him just run off as much as they did in between the commercial break, I'm surprised from just from a putting on a show perspective that even CBS is letting them kind of run wild. But it's always fun watching those interactions. So we come back to the beginning of the HOH, or the pre-HOH comp, where we see that we already saw on Thursday that Jasmine, Terence, and Brittany, they had all gotten their invitations. And so they were just looking for 5 more spots. So we see that the 4th spot is finally filled by Monty. So everyone's really excited. Everyone is rooting for leftovers. Okay, we're worried about going into this, how many we're going to actually have from the leftovers. We follow that by Daniel. Daniel gets his invitation. He says that he's got no clue what's going on in the house. He thought he was on top, and now he's not. And he is very much aware that him or Nicole have to get in possession of power this week because they need to figure out what just happened and how they're going to be able to bounce back. He says Nicole is the only person I trust. I'm not. I can't talk to anyone besides her. So after Daniel gets it, we see Joseph gets his. There was, I believe at this point, that leaves only 2 more slots. And he said he wanted Taylor, Michael, and Kyle to all get one. So I don't know how that would have worked out. These players this season, they keep doing weird math. Joseph especially. He is the one. I love Joseph. I absolutely love Joseph completely. I'm convinced that he does not know how to do math. I think it's kind of hilarious. I'm the same way. I don't get too much into personal stuff, but I do work at a bank, and I still can't do hardly any math. Even just the most basic stuff I will bring up on a calculator right on my computer. It's nice having the calculator on your computer. You can have people in front of you, and they have no idea that you're trying to calculate equations that they could just simply roll off their tongue. So all the love to Joseph, but I am convinced that he is just as bad at math than me, because every time he comes up with one of these equations, he gets this result that I'm like, yeah, and then I'm like, wait a second, no, and it hits me after a while. But anyway, I find that funny. That appears to be a running theme. I haven't heard anyone else catch on to that, but I think it's pretty funny. So we see, following Joseph getting his invitation, that Nicole gets her invitation. So that's another one where we're like, okay, well, how many more are we going to get? We go from Nicole to, we see a big dramatic moment. Okay. It's we got one more spot left. Who's going to fill that spot? Indy. We see Indy finally finds her invitation. So I even put in my notes, Indy, she gets that last spot. But wait, does she? Or is she caught in the crossfire of Alyssa steamrolling, taking off right up to the platform as she, at the same time as Indy, got her invitation? I get it. I do get the hesitation of, I got to get ahead of her because I don't know what's going on. And, this bestie twist is so ridiculous that even if you actually are good friends with your bestie, you don't actually know if you're going to end up being able to trust them this week or not, even if they do get HOH. Because, yeah, you're safe, but you don't know what they're going to set up ahead of time. That being said, this is one of the few bestie groups in the house that's actually really, they're not super close, but they are aligned. And you could have really, it appear, at least from the episode edit, Indy took it fairly well compared to how she could have. She could have gotten really upset, and that could have ended up really bad. So, but she does squeeze in that last spot. So it's we got. Let me go back up here. We had Jasmine, Terrence, and Brittany. We have Monty, so that's 4. Joseph, Nicole, Alyssa, and who are we missing? Daniel. So we got those 8, and those are our 8 in the HOH. I'm not digging this split up. I don't know why they can't just throw everyone into the pot and just say, okay, everyone besides the outgoing HOH, you qualify. It's not even like these comps are like the veto comp where they have to work as a team to win. It's a 2-person comp. It's just a 1-on-1, so, or a 1v everyone. So I don't know why they feel the need to split everything up. But there they go. Kimberly says, hope that Bestie Festy is over soon. When jury starts, it should be over. Yeah. And I don't like twists. There's exception to that. I have the mindset that just like with any sport, this game will evolve over time. And initially, the first 2 or 3 seasons, I think it was season 3 when they introduced the veto. So the first 2 seasons, they didn't even have the veto. And personally, I don't see how they could. I mean, yeah, the game could function without it, but I think it adds to it. So I'm always open for them trying different things to see if they can get something to stick. They have done that a couple times where these one-off twists have carried on for the next season, like with the Battle of the Block that lasted 2 seasons. But I'm not a huge fan of these. Stole idea from Tiffany. Well, and Tiffany kind of got it from the Brigade a little bit because they had kind of done that. Tiffany perfected it, though, for sure. They did. They basically took what Tiffany did and said, okay, well, now let's force this on to our house guests as a twist and not give them any escape from it. And I'm a lot more of a purist than that. Most of these, and I'm not the first one to say this, so I'm not coining anything, but most of these types of twists are really built to benefit the majority alliance. And when this twist occurred, there was a very shaky, very brittle, large alliance that this really could have benefited from had especially Kyle and Joseph really not seen what had happened and what was going on and realizing that they're on the bottom and if they don't make a change now, they're going to be crapped out for the rest of the season. So as a fan, I worry that production, because they do this all the time, they're going to count this as a win, which it is, but they're going to count it as a win for the twist argument. See, you like these twists. Without this twist, none of this would have happened. And I think that this is the exception rather than the rule. I'll be honest, I'm glad that the twist happened because I don't know that we would have seen this occur the way it has. And, I don't, like I said, I don't like the big alliance structure. I don't like it steamrolling, but I'm actually okay with it in this instance because it wasn't until week 3 that it actually, towards the end of week 3, that it actually started and they were able to make changes quick, get the vote flipped quick. And now the majority alliance is in a better position. So because it took so long for them to form and because for years we have been sitting here screaming at our computer screens, watching the feeds, screaming at our TVs, watching the edit, that all these people on the outside, they even can tell most of the time that they're on the outside. Yet for some reason, they just can't come together and form an outsiders group. And so that's why, this whole season for me is an exception, not the rule. Because I don't like big majority steamroll alliances, but I do this one. I hate twists like this, and if it was in any other season, I would have hated it, but I like it in the narrative of this season. And yes, that does make me hypocritical a bit, but I think we can all agree that without this season would have been thrown into the garbage can. It was very much approaching season 15 and season 21 vibes. And while it's still going to be one that is talked about negatively quite a bit, now we actually have the potential to enjoy the rest of the summer and bounce back from it. So in this one instance, I am fine being a little bit hypocritical in that. But I am worried that production is just going to take this and run with it. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I know that's what's going to happen. We all kind of know that's what's going to happen. So hopefully what I'm hoping most is that because we see so many, and I know that this isn't the first time I thought this, so I probably have already talked about this on stream before, but I'm hoping that what ends up happening is that we see uh, other future house guests look at this and say, okay, well, we can be strategic. We don't just have to go with where the house wants us to go. We don't just have to make this every single season, every week be as predictable as possible, and everyone just follow the mold that everyone else before them follows. Hopefully, this season can influence future house guests to not be too afraid to take big shots. Um, yeah, exactly. They call them leftovers, and it's so funny because they were so arrogant that they called the name themselves. And even Amira, she hears when she's voted out the name leftovers and is like, leftovers? That doesn't make any sense. So, but two of the people that she was like, well, they're in my alliance, were outside when she said that. And she was already like, she still, they were so arrogant. They just couldn't make that connection. And that's why I always said, you got to be confident in this house, but you can't be arrogant. People can smell arrogance from a mile away. And it pretty much everyone in that wasn't, whether or not they were in post pack or whatever, it doesn't matter. They were all very arrogant going into this, and that is what has been the downfall of this entire other side of the house. But yeah, let's we'll get back into it. Try and quit rambling as much as I do. So we see that Taylor, she mentions before the comp starts, she's nervous because she points out the leftovers. They're at a 3 to 5 disadvantage of winning this comp. We knew going into this week that it was going to be almost a make or break week. Even if a non-leftover got HOH, they still could have survived under the right circumstances. And I think that they would have had the influence to be able to do it. I think the majority of the people, in fact, there's not a single person in this alliance that I don't think is a good game player. I don't see anyone in here that I'm like, yeah, you're at the bottom. I mean, the only person I could kind of see that person as is Brittany. But even Brittany doesn't really fall into that same mold that most house guests that are normally in that position usually fall into. So, when the house does, or when, if the 7 are able to make it to the end and all the way without getting disrupted, I could definitely see a situation where Brittany is the first target. But besides that, again, she's not even really in a position where she's all the way down, considered in that mold. So, there's a lot of ways this week could have played out had it not the way that it's already started to. It was funny after the comp starts. I try and keep up a little bit with who's out versus who. It often just becomes repetitive, so I don't do it too often. After the comp starts, we see when Nicole takes her spot on the podium, we just see her just completely leave Taylor hanging. And it's so obvious. When people, these house guests keep mentioning Taylor, people watch the feats, people watch everything you do. America's watching, and they're going to see exactly how awful and terrible your behavior is. Well, yeah. All of America is watching Nicole, and she is going to get her behind handed to her if she does end up on the block and gets voted out. She's going to have her behind handed to her on Friday. I would not want to be her when that happens. So we see everyone getting eliminated one by one. Monty takes over from Nicole as the stand-in until the end of the comp. He hits an 11. Nicole says she's scared because she has no idea what's going to happen this week. And that's how pretty much everyone on the outs is feeling. They're all just so shocked. They have no idea what just happened, and they're all terrified. You like Turner, so young. They might switch out Brittany for Terence. I don't know that they'll switch Brittany out for Terence. If anything, I think they'll just bring Terence in. I do think that is a possibility. like I said Thursday, I hope they don't. I do like Terence, but I don't think he's trustworthy enough just because I don't know that you can bank on him not spilling the beans. So I would be nervous if I were them bringing him in, and that's just from an outsider perspective. So I'm not sure what their perspective is looking from the inside. But I like Turner more than I was expecting. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that, and this is just me. It's just me, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that for anyone that heard of some of the drama that was going on the day the cast dropped, and Turner had, I think it was his sister that was coming out and attacking him. Some of the claims she was making, some other people also said, well, we just found evidence of this on your social media too. So I'm personally willing to go out and say that some of that stuff might not be as accurate as some people wanted us to believe. But the jury's still out on that. That's a whole nother debate for another time. But I'm starting to like Turner more. And I said it. I said it to my wife tonight. I said, I don't care how some of the drama's gone on. I know a lot of people have disliked Monty. I actually like Monty quite a bit, personally. I know he's been at the head of a lot of unfortunate things. And I do agree. Some of the stuff that he's been caught up in have not been very good. But he's been approached as, or been spoken about as not a very good game player. And I don't agree entirely. I do think that he does have a lot of weaknesses, but I think he's actually proving to be a fairly good game player. Now, he's not the brains of the leftovers. That's evident, but he is an active force, and I'm pretty impressed with the bounce back from him. So we see a few of the people try and take over Monty, but it just doesn't happen, and Monty does win the HOH comp this week, which is, again, they went into it, the leftovers did, with a 3-5 disadvantage, and they managed to pull it out, which is great. It's really cool to see that they were able to maintain power, because normally that doesn't happen. Normally you do get that whenever they're stuck in a position like this, it's hard to bounce back from, and they did, and they were able to win the HOH this week. So regardless of what happens and who the target is and who goes out, the leftovers are safe this week. So that's something that we do not have to worry about moving forward, at least until Thursday, unless something happens crazy and it crumbles. There's always a potential for that. But besides that catastrophic event, we don't have to worry about the leftovers again until Thursday night. Nicole mentions that, as we've already said, she's scared because she doesn't know what happened. She mentions she feels super crappy being on the outs. All I can say is imagine how the people that you have made feel that way feel now. You're feeling no different. You're not feeling nearly as bad as you've made some of the other people feel in this situation, and it's just holding up a reflection to yourself. But Daniel says that he starts going to Nicole and he says, look, I promise I didn't know anything was going on. I had no idea that Amira was the target or that she was getting 6 of the votes. I swear to God, I'm not lying to you. She says that he mentions that he could sense something was changing. He could sense something was off right before the vote. He says that Nicole agrees. She says that she could feel that something was off too. And this is where Daniel says that, it doesn't matter whatever happens. Nicole is his person. She's the only person that he's going to trust from here on out. And Nicole, again, she brings up again how angry she is that she couldn't tell Mira bye. Again, you will, I don't want to say, yeah, you will have ample opportunity, whether you do end up going out this week and you get to talk to her Friday, or it's a few more weeks from now, month and a half from now. Who cares? It's only going until the end of September. So this person that you've known for 3 weeks, don't worry about it. You will get the opportunity to say goodbye to them again. And who knows? Maybe you'll go on Amazing Race together. Who knows? Alyssa mentions how she starts talking about she doesn't want to look or talk to Kyle at all. She says that she's made an emotional connection with Kyle and that she feels betrayed by him. Monty and Terence and Joseph are able to do the whole celebration thing in the storage room. And again, I catch myself saying, why is Terence celebrating? Oh yeah, because he's in their bestie group. You know, the bestie twist is already bad enough in my eyes when it's just two, and now you have three people that are grouped together. An example of this, I don't know I know the results of veto and everything that happened. Obviously, Monty and Joseph and Terrence, their group is going to contribute in the veto competition because Monty won. I honest to God, I don't know whether or not Terrence did play or not, but my understanding is that whether or not he did, even if he didn't play, if Monty or Joseph, one of them won, and both of them decide, they both played, one of them won, or I guess them as a group won, they both decide that they don't want to use the veto. If Terrence still wants to, doesn't matter. They got to use it. So it's just so OP. Does Terrence know about the leftovers? I'm not sure from a feed's perspective. I know up to this point he didn't. If he did find out, I haven't caught up to it yet. Like I said, I hope he doesn't, just because I wouldn't trust him being part of that group. I do think that he can be a very good asset to the group without having to know who all is in the group. If they can pull him in and use him as a number, I think he trusts Joseph and Monty more than anyone in the house right now. So I think that's a really good way to have that. They're kind of forced into this alliance of three. So, hey, Terrence, this is what we're going to do. This is who me and Joseph are voting out based on some of the other conversations we had. If they can flip it that way, then I think I think they can make it work with him for a while without having to entrust him with all the information. I could see a scenario where before anyone outside the leftover, if the leftovers are able to make it all the way to Final 7, I could see a situation where Terrence is the last person on the outside of the leftovers to be brought in, or to leave, to get evicted. I could see him as kind of an extension to that. The leftovers at the moment are just an extension of the Pound. So I could definitely see them bringing him in and something like that. But again, don't want to reveal who else is in the alliance because, and a lot of the details, because I just wouldn't trust Terrence altogether. I think, who mentioned it earlier? I think it was Kimberly. I don't remember if I answered that last part about when jury starts. I do believe that it will. I think there was maybe some unofficial word from watching the feeds where they mentioned this at some point last week, where they mentioned that it was going to go on for more than that week. My guess would be that it'll be this week and then one more week, and then at the end, before we get to jury, it'll end, because they normally do break these up before jury. I don't see this one working out all that well in a jury phase. It would just be too OP. It would have too much control over the entire game, and I don't think production is at that point yet. But who knows? They've surprised us before. So yeah, they're all celebrating in the storage room, and Joe talks about how him and Monty actually informed Terrence, hey, listen, we're speculating that this could be what is going to happen with the bestie twist. If you're staying, you can feel confident you're staying. When Amira leaves, we think that what might happen is that you get to pick which group to join. If you do, you can come join us. We like you, and we can bring you in. And they said that they really thought that he'd make a good fit. Jasmine is in the bathroom with some other leftover members, and she mentions that this is making her open her eyes a bit. She was too comfortable, which Jasmine's too comfortable. Man, if you just turn the feeds on, just at any point in time since her ankle's been sprained, you would know that she appears to be very comfortable in most situations. So yeah, she probably has been a little bit too comfortable. And she says that what really is angering her the most is that Taylor knew that the vote was flipping, but she didn't. And again, it's I can't even talk about it anymore. And we won't because I can't. I can't keep going. But yeah, she's angry that Taylor knew about the flip before she did, and that she's caught her. Everyone else in the house has caught her tiptoeing around and sneaking around and all this other stuff. Alyssa and Kyle, we see them talking, and Kyle basically tells her that, yeah, I knew we were close. I knew that we had a bond, but you never made me feel that I was your priority over Amira. And the actual conversation from the feeds, Alyssa talks about, well, I thought I was making that obvious. I didn't think I had to say it. But he mentions, yeah, I don't know. I didn't ever feel that. Joe and I honestly, because Joe was doing the talking, I didn't catch who else was with him. I think it was Monty. Joe and Monty talk about how they approached Alyssa when she was kind of hiding up in that top little balcony or whatever, which I think that is the coolest spot ever. Every time the backyard was open, if I was in that house, I'd spend a ton of time. I didn't when I realized that it was there was last season, and it was week 2. I saw French. I was like, that is a cool spot. Like late at night, they got the lights hanging, and it's just a really cool spot. But she's chilling there, and she's all upset, and she says, "Yeah, I miss being home." And they're like, "Oh yeah, it sucks, it's tough." But she's like, "Well, I miss my person back home." And it feels like she made too much of an effort to get that point across. Hey, I have a person back home, but shush, don't say anything about it. And this really upsets Joe in a non-game way, because he knows, because of Kyle's background and his history in life, that he doesn't have a lot of experience being in relationships. And Alyssa knows that. And I think my reading between the lines is he's just really worried that Kyle's going to find himself in a position where he doesn't want to be and doesn't know how to navigate. So that does worry Joe a bit, and he does go and bring this info to Kyle. Alyssa mentions how her and Kyle start talking. They say that she says she feels alone in this game, and Kyle tries to reiterate that no, you're not alone. And she says she doesn't know where she's going to go from here. And that's just the general consensus of everyone that's not in the Leftovers Alliance, is they don't know what happened. And at this point, they cannot put the pieces together. They don't know who's lying and who's telling the truth. And it's a really kind of funny situation on the outside to observe. Brittany mentions that, or Brittany, we get the whole HOH reveal. We have a nice moment with Monty talking about his mom back home and everything. And then he says, yeah, everyone can just kind of hang out here until you don't want to, until you're ready to go back down and get ready for bed. But we see some time pass, and Brittany mentions how she's a little bit annoyed that everyone's still in the HOH, because her main point is that they need to plan what is to be done the next week. I think they really just wanted to have that celebration moment, which it's always fun to see. So I can see why she's at that point, and it's already getting late. But she mentions that they need to all game plan. They need to figure out what their goal is for the next week, and where they're going to move forward. Taylor says that she wants to see Alyssa go up. Joe says that that's not his target. Nicole is the person that he wants to see go out. Kyle even mentions that, hey, I can go up with Daniel. And in most circumstances, again, as it's all pooch, don't want to nominate yourself as a pawn. But this is not the same, to me anyway, because every single one of the people that they're wanting to target is pretty much partnered up with one of them. So to get anyone out, as long as this deal exists, that's just what they have to do. One of them is going to have to go up. So I'm fine with the right circumstances of someone volunteering to go up because of the twist. Besides that, I would not. It's ridiculous. Taylor says, "Look, I have been a pawn every week. Besides last week, but even last week, everyone was expecting her to be a pawn. Everyone was angry that she wasn't a pawn, and she doesn't want to touch the block." Monty tells her, "Hey, look, if that's what you're telling me, and you don't want to go up, I'm fine with that. I'm okay. I'm comfortable with that." Later on the next day, and Monty mentions, he's like, "Okay, so we're just gonna go with Alyssa and Indy. Tomorrow I'm gonna have my one-on-ones, and I'm just gonna play the routine, have everyone come up. It's not gonna be any different than normal, but mostly I'm trying to gain intel as to what everyone else's perspective is, as who they think flipped, and beyond that, who they want out and who their target is." So a really good idea to just not shut it down, because we have seen people just kind of shut it down before. But Monty, eventually he has Nicole and Taylor in. He talks about how, or he mentions that he wants to put up Nicole and Taylor, but he knows that Taylor isn't going to be comfortable with it. And so he says that he tells Alyssa that she's talking to him. She's like, "Hey, I know we don't really have anything to apologize for, but I just want to make sure that we're good and figure out where we're at." He tells Alyssa that Taylor is ultimately his target because he can backdoor her. That's, we've been trying to get her out for weeks, man, and she's supposed to go out week 1, and she's still here, and we got to get her out. Same old spiel. He tells Indy the same thing, and she is still incredibly unhappy. She says, "I would never do that to you if I was in your position. It doesn't matter," and gives some scenario, which, again, completely false. You would, because you're playing a game. If you felt that they were coming after you, or even if you needed pawns, you would put them up if you felt that they were the best option. That's just how it is. She probably wouldn't, because she probably won't win any just from her performance previously. But she says, "I would never do that to you. That's terrible that you want to put this up, but whatever. I respect your decision as HOH. You do whatever is best for you, and I'll respect that." And Monty mentions, this is my plan, but this might be a lot more challenging if Indy's not going to be on board. Nicole talks about how she's going to have to go up and talk to Monty, because she is on the outs, and she's going to have to try and go to him and let him know that I can be an asset to you. You can use me however you need, and I'll do whatever you need. I think she can sense that she's probably not in a very safe spot, but she's so arrogant and cocky that she can't realize it. She can't come to admit it. And so she's finding herself in a position where she's like, "I'm just going to have to go fake it until I make it, and go tell him, I can do whatever you need me to do." The problem is, everyone knows it's not the case. So even if you weren't already the target, you would still probably be in this position where everyone knows that, okay, that's not true. You are not planning on benefiting me in any way. You're just trying to get past this week. So Monty mentions, he tells Nicole that he's not going to put Taylor up, or he tells Nicole and Taylor, talking to Taylor, he says, "I'm not going to put you up. I feel like, you've already been in that position, 2 or 3 weeks now. You're always up, and I don't want to do that to you again. You've already dealt with that too much." Nicole was like, "Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, totally. Don't want to put her up." Which I don't know why Nicole felt, unless this is just how Monty was doing it and I didn't catch it. I don't know why she went up with Taylor. It seems like, and even as HOH, I don't know why Monty would be wanting to pull people in his groups. I still want to be pulling people in as individuals, because you might be targeting your bestie. You might have someone that is targeting their bestie, like Nicole is to Taylor, like Taylor is to Nicole, and you're not going to get an honest response because they're not going to sit right there in front of the bestie and be like, oh yeah, put us up because we want to fight to the death. Or put us up because I want her out and I want to get her out. So you're not really going to get honest feedback from people because they don't have the same goals that you do, necessarily. I mean, that's kind of the strategy most people had picking their bestie, is that I'm going to pick someone that is not in my alliance so we can try and get them out. Put me up, I automatically stay safe, they go home. But he mentions that to them. Nicole leaves, and Taylor says, do you even have like a real target going into this week, or are you just waiting for veto? And Monty says, well, honestly, I do want Nicole out. That is my main target this week. And I do feel like she's going to be a lot bigger of a threat than Alyssa, because, yeah, we get Alyssa out. That's another number, a greater advantage for us numbers wise. But, she's not a scary competitor the way Nicole is. Nicole has come very close in several competitions and claims to have thrown them, which, inside the house, I would believe it because she has performed really well. So, Nicole is a much greater physical threat than Alyssa is. And I mean, I would even go as far as to say a bigger mental threat for mental competitions. So I could definitely see, I could see where they're coming from that. And also another thing that they didn't show on the episode, that if they did, I didn't catch it. I don't think they did. Taylor said several times, I'm not comfortable having Nicole and Daniel here. Both of them just existing in the same house as me is making me very anxious, which, I mean, you can understand why. They both, like, I would honest to God feel the exact same way as her if I was in her shoes. You have these two people that have been verbally attacking you at this point in front of the entire house, telling you how evil of a person you are, how ill-intended you were, when all you were trying to do was be kind and supportive to this person that's supposed to be your partner, and you get treated that way. I don't know why she wouldn't. I think that, Nicole would be her number one target if she didn't have to be the one to go up on the block with her based on stupid bestie twist. So I do understand why she is hesitant. But if I were her in this position, and it's hard to say from the outside that I would do this, but I just feel like, listen, we got to get Nicole and Daniel out week by week. Back to back, we got to get them out. So put me up and let's just get her out while we have the numbers, because we don't know what's going to happen next week. So I mean, their numbers are going to pretty much increase. It doesn't really matter, but with everything going on the way it is, anything can happen. So I personally would be wanting to go after Nicole, because I feel, at least from what it appears, is that Daniel has done more damage to her, as far as coming at her in person. Now Nicole has done more damage behind the scenes, because Nicole just is like a dog with a tug of war rope. She just can't let go and continues to bring it up over and over again. But yeah, I mean that regardless of the situation, for me, I feel like I would be more comfortable going after Nicole than I would be anyone else. And what is not seen on the episode either is that, and I honestly think it's in favor for him. But Kyle has very much also been on the train of getting out Alyssa. That because he can't really get rid of her. He still likes her, but he can't get rid of her. So he's wanting to. His main goal, or his main target this week, was kind of Alyssa, so he can kind of get her off, and not have to deal with her in jury. I think is also a big issue as well. So yeah, but we end the episode seeing that, between Monty and Taylor, she's like, okay, if it happens, okay, but I'm not doing it again. If I go up against Nicole this week, when I stay, I like how she said, not you know after this week, she goes on a limb and says, or goes out to say, when I stay, I will not be going up again, flat out. And I like that, and I think most of the time you don't want to be cocky and arrogant, but it could have come across negatively if Monty allowed it to, and he might have said that on the feeds, and I didn't catch it, but it could come across negatively. But I think in this instance, it's kind of not that they had to be too worried about it anyway, but I feel like it just shows a positive viewpoint that house guests could have, is that she knows she wants to be here, she's happy here, and she's comfortable with this, and she even tells us, she's like, I don't want to be. I kind of got a little bit of a mixed message, I feel like, because on one hand I feel like she was saying, I'm scared to go up. I don't want my first my first interaction with this group, with this team, of me going up and being shown as an easy target. But also, she's got to show that she's loyal and that she's willing to do what it takes. And I don't think that they're, it could be twisted, but personally, I wouldn't see, even if I was in Monty or anyone else in the alliance position, see anything wrong with Taylor coming and being like, I am not, like, this is the last time. After this, I am not going up again this season. And I think, for most people, you could definitely would take that as a positive thing. Okay, great. We get that. You've been through tons of crap in these last 30 days, and we understand completely. And even Monty, he's saying, like, look, I think this is the best decision. I think this is what we need to do, but I want to build Taylor's trust with the group. I don't want, no one in this group needs to feel like they are on the outs, or they're just a shield, or they're just a weapon for the group. Everyone is equal. So if she doesn't trust us enough, he would, and that's another thing that I liked, is it wasn't just, if she doesn't trust us enough, well, to heck with her, she should trust us. He gets it. He's like, if she doesn't trust us, then I want her to tell me so we can build that trust. And that is the best way to take that. So many people don't take it that way. So many people take it as they don't trust me. Well, off with them. No, they're telling you, I'm not comfortable with this. Let's build that trust together, so that way, if it does have to come to that point, if the bestie's choice is still going on, you can feel comfortable. And I think that's kind of where he's at, is like, really, it just doesn't matter who goes up, or who goes out, because regardless, there's only one bestie group in the house right now that, well, I know there is two. I keep forgetting about Monty and I keep forgetting Monty and Joseph. But even if Monty and Joseph go up, they still have Terence as an option that they could still get out. They would have the numbers to do that. Michael and Brittany are the only full pair that can't go up, or can't, if they go up, they can't go up, because if they go up, then one of them's for sure leaving. Now, another theory that has gone on out there, and I think that Brittany has talked about this as well and was like kind of pushing for it, is that, listen, if they do put up Alyssa and Indy, right, which we did see was what happened tonight, that regardless of whether or not, if the veto's not used on them and one of them goes, then they could try and get, they wanted to use that as a way to get one of them, whoever stays, to pick Michael and Brittany, so that way they can be in that same position where they have their Terrence, right? They get put up, there's still that third option that they can still vote out, and they don't have to stress about, if we go up, we're screwed, because the wrong person on the other side of the house, as it stands now, wins, somehow is able to figure out that, and I don't even think that Michael and Brittany would be the house target for the other side. I don't think that they have figured that out enough.
that they're smart enough to pick up on that. But if they did, they put them up, then and it's past veto, they're screwed, right? That there is no other out. So the leftovers will be down a person, and that could really hurt them because, and understandably so, the alliance, the two alliance members, they're gonna have to do what they have to do, and it might get out to the other side. If you're facing, I'm probably gonna, and honestly, most likely Brittany. I feel like if Michael and Brittany go up and it's just them two, if I was the alliance, I'd be scared that Brittany would out it to the other side. She's been known to do that when she wasn't even really backed that much into a corner. So while this is her best shot at winning, I think surviving the vote, if that was a vote, that's her best shot at surviving the vote. And I think that the rest of the alliance members can see that too. So they were hoping that they could try and convince that that the veto comp has happened, but not the nomination ceremony at this point in real time. So we still won't go over any of that because we don't want to give away who won. But we'll revisit that a little bit on Wednesday on that episode. But the only thing I'll say is that the main counterpoint to that was, well, even if that does happen, you still can't guarantee that she's going to pick one of you, whichever she it is. Now, and honestly, I could definitely see her trying to go for a Jasmine and or from an indie perspective, going for Jasmine and Turner. Alyssa, depending on how the rest of the week goes, I would still probably see her trying to pick Kyle and Daniel. I think Kyle could try and persuade her away from that, addressing the dangers of that. But that was the alternative goal for this week. Is if we can't get Nicole to go up with Taylor, then we could still go that route and then try and give Michael and Brittany a chance to have a safe goat. Because if they can do that, then the leftovers, again, as long as they don't have an outburst and they don't break up, they can ride this all the way to the end. So, but yeah, that's where we sit. So we do see that, Taylor does kind of, I feel like from the edit perspective, it kind of came to the conclusion that she did eventually agree to go up as allowing a backdoor option for Nicole. And that, again, that's what I would do if I were in that position. Again, it's hard to say from the outside looking in that'd be the easiest option, but that's what I would be inclined. That's what I'm inclined to believe that I would do if I was in that position, to just get that person out, because again, you're basically wasting an HOH that, while yes, you are increasing your numbers, you're still not really benefiting yourself, because you could easily have Nicole or Daniel win next week and end up losing either one of Michael or Brittany. So then you're back down to only 6. And you risk blowing up the alliance if Michael or Brittany go up. I think Brittany's the person most likely to, but I think that you would have one of them at least say something to the other side, just to try and gain that upper hand, from, try and push getting a few votes from their side, but gaining the upper hand from the other side. Hey, listen, I'm going to bring this info to you. I'm going to tell you everything that happened and how we can navigate this. So I do think the smartest play is going to be going after Nicole, because at this point, she really is the head of that dragon. And if they can take her out, then they don't have to worry about anything really until it's just the 7. Again, that doesn't mean that until Michael and Brittany have a scapegoat on there, they are still in danger of losing a number. But at that point, it really doesn't matter, because they'll still have the advantage. They'll still have the higher numbers on that side. So, but yeah, we do see it ends with Indy and Alyssa. So we'll see what happens with the veto. Very I will just, again, no spoilers. It is interesting who wins veto, and I'll give you an appetite teaser. It definitely still could end up that the backdoor plan happens. That's all I'll say. So probably does even spoil too much, but still, it's gonna be a fun veto. Most people around here are already in spoilers anyway. So, all right. So, yeah, that recaps the episode. Before we go, we'll look over chat a little bit. If you guys have any other questions, before we hop off, make sure to drop them in the chat, and we'll read them off before we go. But let's see. Where did I? Quick to judge turn in the beginning. I like him now. He's very laid back. He is. I agree. I really. I'd like to say I wasn't judging him before. Any interpretation I had was because we only had one day of preseason with the cast. That same day that I met him, I also had his own sister saying his family hates him. So that's a little bit unfortunate that wasn't able to get my own kind of first impression. It was based on something like that. But that's how it is. It's getting sticky. It's getting very sticky. Yeah, they all do. They all act really entitled, and it's annoying. I'm done with Jasmine. She's awful. Yeah, I try not to use too many. I try not to use too many incriminating words, but I agree with the sentiment. Yeah, over Jasmine, and this is not the only live stream. This is not the only chat that is has that same opinion. Telling everyone at nominations that the two girls are not his target was questionable. I agree. And the only reason that I would really think that is because he sat there in front of Nicole telling Taylor that I don't plan on putting you up. That's not to say that he couldn't have been lying and just tell Nicole he was lying, but I do feel like he did come across very genuine, and it could cause people to kind of raise an eyebrow and stuff like that. So I don't disagree. I did kind of think the same thing. Nicole does have a bad temper. I would agree with that sentiment. And it's so funny. You could tell because for me, I already knew who won HOH. So I'm watching the episode and I see Nicole sitting there and she's like, oh man, I'm going up to that podium. And, all I'm thinking is I got to win this HOH because I don't know what's going on. And I gotta make some moves. And, this is basically everything's on the line for me with this. And at that point when she was recording that DR, she already had lost, and you can just kind of hear the defeat in her voice. And throughout that entire DR session, it's her whole demeanor has just been a little bit arrogant, and yes, she's very quick to get irritated. So it's annoying. Nicole seems to be very self-unaware. Yeah. And that's what this house does to you. Again, and I sit here and I think as big of a fan as I am now, as I have been my whole life, as much as I studied this game, if I were in some of the same positions that these other people are currently in, especially once you get to the point where, and we talked about it before, with Nicole, her and Daniel both actually liked Taylor in the first few days. It wasn't until everyone else started telling them why they should hate her that they started hating her, to the point where now they're kind of almost believing their own lies, because they have what they're initially believing is what Paloma was saying, but now they're kind of reinforcing that with their own ideas and things that they literally are just fabricating. These things just aren't happening. So I think I want to say that I wouldn't be in that same position. I wouldn't make those same choices. Um, I don't know. I can't say 100% that I wouldn't. I would like to say that I wouldn't. I believe that I wouldn't. I do believe that I wouldn't, but I also know that even people that go in there that don't come out very problematic. And I will say, full transparency, the majority of house guests that go in season after season, when you watch the feeds and you see the real personal conversations, almost all of them are problematic in their own way. So it I with all of that being said, I do try and be careful to withhold judgment on some of these house guests because I have not experienced how undeniably so. Just watching, you can see season after season how being in that house for 3 months literally breaks down your brain and causes all kinds of mental issues for most house guests. That's why there's so many of them that are like, I not only will I not play again, for years after that, the biggest super fans of the show stop watching. And a lot of them usually pick back up, but it just takes a while for them to recover from all the issues and all the stress that it put on them going through that. So again, I'm not very good at it. Anyone that's watched any of my videos can see I'm not very good at withholding judgment, but I do try because again, none of us have been in that situation. We don't know, from a personal perspective, how that does break people's brains down. And I can see, the only thing I'll say is I can see how, from Nicole and Daniel's perspective, once they started buying into that and they were kind of peer pressured into creating their own fake events and completely misconstruing actual things that happen and turning them into something that didn't happen. I can see how they've already gotten that far, even now that it does sound way more ridiculous. Like, they will get out of there and they will cringe, even if they still like keep the same opinion that they have now. They will still cringe at some of the things that they were saying. They're like, oh well, like they all will. And if they come out and say that they don't, they're lying. They are just flat out lying. So again, we that's why we try and keep it positive here. And with all the Taylor stuff, it is just impossible to not bring it up. But it's just getting more and more challenging to talk about because it's just repeating yourself over and over, which, I'm sure some of you have noticed now. I do tend to do that a lot, but it's at that point, it's just, there's just nothing else to say that hasn't already been said a million times by just myself alone. And I only have like 12 videos total on my channel. So there's just only so much more you can say or do. Yeah, she's starting. She can see what's going on. Now, I don't think Kimberly says she's catching it. She was a cop. I don't think that at this point anyway, she knew exactly or had any of the details, but she definitely was figuring out that something's going on, and she's getting a read from behind the scenes, more so than most others. Mona says, I want Taylor to find her feet and start to play a cutthroat game. She shouldn't have to be grateful to the others forever. And that's exactly right. And I think that's what this episode was showing us. And when you watch the feeds, because I was listening to a lot of these conversations pre-noms, and that was something that I was definitely getting the vibe for, was that she's not like, she's agreeing to it because she agrees that it is the best move for the group. Not, I just need to be grateful and just be happy that I'm accepted. And I think that was backed up by just from what we saw in the episode, where she's like, once we do this, like once we go up this week, and once I stay, when I am still here, doesn't even give a chance to doubt. It's just like, when I do stay, when I do survive the vote, when I am still here, I'm not doing it again. And I don't think she even came across to the group as, I'm doing this to be grateful. I think it was, I agree, as much as I hate it, it is the best move for all of us collectively. And what's best for the collective right now is what's best for her. She doesn't, even though she shouldn't have to feel grateful to be brought in, she should still understand that, yeah, but without them, I'm not going to have another chance. So she has to go along with what's going to be best for the group. And that's why I think she was saying that, that she was still willing to do it. But, that was backed up by, it ain't happening again. I'm not a pawn. I will never be used as a pawn again. And I'm not going to go through that again. I'm only doing it now because there is no other way to get her out right now if we don't do this. And again, we don't know how long this is going to last anyway, so it could go weeks, before she even gets the opportunity to take her out any other way anyway. So yeah, spoilers are fine with me. I'm glad they're fine with you, Mona. It's hard for me because I try and separate the spoilers from the episode. I've thought about doing kind of like a spoilery segment at the end, but that would require me to force myself to stay up to date more than what I'm able to. I always find out, who won comps, who's going up. I always try and stay clued in with the plan. Occasionally something might change and I just haven't been listening or keeping up for several hours. And I haven't stayed caught up a ton today, just because, it's day post veto, but before the ceremony happens. So while a lot of things could change in the plans, it tends to run as a slower day. So it would require me to stay up to date with that type of stuff. And I just try and I just do it. I basically watch the feeds to enhance my own viewing. And I am able to use that to provide more perspective in recapping the episode and filling in the gaps of what the episode didn't put in. So that's why I try and only keep the spoilers to there. On Sunday episodes, Wednesdays was a little bit tough too, just trying to not give away what else was about to happen. But yeah, I agree. I just I try to make sure I'm not crossing any borders for anyone else. So I want there to be the expectation that it is possible something might get spoiled, but so have that disclaimer. But that's not the goal of the recap episodes. Don't give her a gun. No comment. Have you ever tried out for the show? I haven't. I've thought about it many, many, many times throughout life. I'd be lying if I said that even just this week I hadn't reiterated to my wife. I still am contemplating it. A lot would have to go right for me to even be in a position where I could leave. For 3 months, I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And that would be immensely challenging for my wife to have to be forced for 3 months to be with them at that age, because our 1-year-old is very difficult. Now, if anyone can, it's definitely my wife, but I don't want to put that on her. I know Indy mentioned how she paid all of her bills for 3 months in advance. I'm not in that position, so I would have to work the logistics out of that. But is what it is. I'm never saying no to the idea entirely. It's always still in the back of my head, but I'm enjoying what this community is doing, and so if I were to do that, I would also have to step away from this for a whole season, and I don't necessarily want to do that. I also don't want to make myself look like an idiot when I give all these expert perspectives from someone that's never played, and then go in there and have a very poor performance, because I do talk a lot of game, and I'm not always the best at backing it up. So my pride is also something that's kept me from doing it. But again, never say never to me applying. If I did apply, would I get on? Probably not, because I'm not that they only like one or two super fans in the show each season. I don't fit that stereotype mold for most of them, and I'm not that entertaining. So even if I did apply, I don't know that I would get on. And I'll read this last one first, just so everyone has a little bit of time if they want to. Mona says, "I'm in Texas, by the way. Where is everyone here from?" I'm in Oklahoma. Born and raised here. I've never lived in any other state. In the state of Oklahoma, which again I mentioned last week too. I think it's really cool because we don't see. Right, I didn't mention it last week. I was talking to one of you guys in the comments, but there's not been a lot of people on these shows that I've watched. Big Brother really hasn't. I think there might have been one or two in the past, but there really hasn't been a ton. Survivor's had a good handful, especially more recent years with Zeke, and I'm blanking on the other guy's name that was on Zeke's first season. And then there was JD, 41, 42. There was, I can't remember that other girl's name either. But anyway, so it is really cool. Not a ton from The Bachelor either. I used to be a huge Bachelor fan. A huge one. Haven't watched anything since Chris Harrison left. So, but yeah, I like to kind of bring to just for other people that are from Oklahoma that live here, that enjoy being part of communities like these, just to know that, we're here too, and can kind of have someone there that also kind of shares the same perspective as you, because as much as you want differing perspectives, it's also nice to have someone that shares it as well. But yeah, groupthink and Chinese whispers and insecurity and competitiveness, isolation equals bad combo. Yep. It's when you get so much of that negative part of humanity, this house just drives that up, and it really does cause people to go crazy. It really does. Indian and Alyssa should make out. Well, sure or not. It's up to you. Yeah. Sure. Mona says, "You do provide good perspective, enjoying it." I appreciate that, Mona. I really do. Like I said, I've spent years. I spent my whole life watching the show, and I spent years studying it. Even from a younger perspective, the first season that I really watched and started watching the feeds was 14. And so obviously, as stereotypical as it is, Dan is my favorite player. So I love the strategy side of it, watching how people can honestly, as bad as it sounds, watching how people can manipulate other people and get themselves out of bad situations. Like it's so interesting to see how he's pulled that off. It's just really, really crazy. Let's see. But yes, thank you. I do appreciate you saying that. ATF Media says, "I'm from the far superior state of Michigan, which is so much better at football than Oklahoma." Well, I am a pretty big. It wasn't until I got much older that I became very big into football at all. I'm not. I grew up an OU fan. That's every year watching Bedlam, watching the Longhorns versus OU. But I ever since I really started paying attention to the sport, I started playing fantasy football. So I always say I consider myself technically, I would say I'm an OU fan. And if I ever do watch any college, like I'm watching it because I want to watch OU. That being said, I'm not a very big college fan. I'm pretty much an NFL fan. And then people follow up with, who's your favorite NFL team? And it took me years to even have a favorite NFL team because I started watching players, because you play fantasy football for the players, not the teams. And so I started having all these players that I loved, but never really a team. The only one that I would say was the Giants, because that was the first NFL game I ever just watched on my own and paid attention to. And they were playing, I think, the Saints. But in recent years, I have adopted the Panthers. So as an OU Panthers fan, I am a huge fan of Baker's acquisition by the Panthers. I love it, and I am excited to see what happens. I like Baker more than most, so people can talk however they want. I don't care. But yeah, so when it comes to college football, I'm obliged to say that's not true, but I also can't talk smack because I don't have the history and the info to back it up. ATF Media, yeah, way to represent, says Mona. Mona says, I have lived in Europe. I also lived in Dubai. I can't even. I know I can't pronounce that. Abu Dhabi, and Amman, and the UK. That's cool. Kira says, I can't watch live feeds anymore because everything out of Nicole's mouth is a joke. She likes to hear herself talk. Jasmine needs to go to the DR and get checked or sent packing because she's milking it. And DR needs to sit down with Alyssa because she's inappropriately getting in Kyle's space, and it's uncomfortable to watch, and it's affecting his game. So I will say I do agree that the majority of stuff that comes out of Nicole's mouth is a joke. I do. I will say I agree with that more than just agreeing with the sentiments, because it really is. I agree. And here's the thing: I will not sit here and say that someone that's injured should have to come to a decision to leave based on too much respect for the game. I would hope that everyone would have that level of respect for the game going in, but also, as much as when I watch this game and anytime I've ever thought about going on to play, I'm not thinking about it as winning $750,000. It's going to show that I'm the best at this game that I love so dearly. Just like professional athletes, right? But if I were in there and I had the same thing happen, even if I was in Christmas's position in 19, I'm still not going to walk. I'm not going to just give up a chance at $500,000 or $750,000. I think that falls on production. I think the moment they realized she was going to be incapacitated for more than a week, I'm willing to give a house guest like a week. If it's something that can be healed within that time, your likelihood of getting selected for a veto in that time is minimal based on numbers. So I'm okay with giving them a week, right? Because even then, like when we had, and I mentioned this before, season 16, which Acosta, she was like deathly ill for like a week, but it was just like the flu or a cold. It wasn't a physical an ailment that or something broke or is restricting her physically from moving and competing and playing. So a week after a week, I feel like production should step in, or if they know that it's going to be something that's going to keep them out longer than a week, I think production should step in and pull them, and I think that's what should have happened in this case. I do. It's unfortunate, no matter who the player is. It would suck for them to be in that position where they got taken out due to nothing around them, nothing that they did, or anything from a game perspective, or anything that anyone else did to them. They weren't even targeted. It's just something like that took them out. But I think production should have stepped in at this point. I really do. The stuff with the Kyle. So here's the only thing I will say. I have heard a lot of people making reference to Alyssa being inappropriate with Kyle. I have not witnessed the events that have been spoken of or being referred to. I also, and the updates that I have heard, none of them have gone into a lot of detail about it. So I've heard of that something's been going on. The only thing I'll say about it is that knowing that Kyle is as innocent as he is, I would hope that she would not be taking advantage of it. And it's that's all I'll say. I hope she wouldn't be taking advantage of that. Atomidi. I adopted the Panthers too, but animal control took them. Evidently, it's illegal to adopt Panthers. Well, maybe Michigan isn't all that superior to Oklahoma. I could probably adopt anything here. Now, whether it's legal or not would be one question. Whether or not the majority of law enforcement would take action on it, because they also have their own wild and exotic animals. I mean, you did see Tiger King, right? Or at least heard of it. You saw like the craziness of how many animals that man owned. That was all here. So, if you lived here, you might be able to keep your Panthers a little bit longer. Mona says manipulation for gameplay is awesome to watch. Bullying and nastiness is difficult to watch, obviously, and they cast not correctly these days. I agree, 100%. It's from a gameplay, right? It's awesome and fun to watch them, find out how they can weasel themselves out of a situation like this. I know this is so random compared to this, but when I think of Big Brother in a real life sense, I think of, there's this movie called Jacksonville. I know some people have probably seen it. I don't know. I know that it's based on the events of the Civil War, and it's a little bit of an older movie. I think it was made in the 90s, and it's got people from the North and the South that were charged with war crimes, and they're all forced to live in the same concentration camp together. So you have people divided from the north side to the south side, but they're all in the same camp, and it's basically like Big Brother. They're keeping them in prison, but that's it. They are building communities within this huge outdoor prison and watching how they adapt. And at one point, they even have their own execution. They go to the prison guards and everything. They say, "Look, we have established our own laws here. We built our own laws. Someone broke those laws, and it cost someone's life. I think someone died from it." So they were like, "We're going to hold the trial, and we would like to be able to have something to perform an execution." So they build them something to hang them with. That's kind of the example I see in that. I think if you're in a fight for your life type of situation, it could be it's interesting to see how you would get out of that, right? And that's kind of how I relate to this. When you're talking about you're not in a life or death situation, and it's not a game reflecting a life or death situation where you can win life-changing amounts of money, beyond that, manipulation and bullying and harassing and gaslighting the way these house guests do to each other, in a real life thing, it's just an awful thing to see. Love Chat XYZ adult dating site. Thanks for joining. How long you been a Big Brother fan? Best adult dating site. Best adult JW dating site. Best adult heart check. Whatever. Okay. Thanks. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Love Chat XYZ. Want to make sure you guys stick around. Okay. I don't know how to block people, I'll be honest. If I can figure that out, I'll do that next time. That's so annoying. Michigan has never had a Joe Exotic, so yes, it's far superior. Well, that's you definitely have a point. Carrie says he was in the shower and was asking to get in. I'm assuming you mean she was asking to get in with him and hovering. She was hugging and pushing her way, and she kept coming at him. It's on video, sad, and the bullying's horrible. Yeah, that he did. I didn't catch it because I don't care. But did anyone happen to catch to see if did Kyle say he is still a virgin, isn't he? I think so. So and he's not, if he's not just a virgin, he's very, very sensitive to these topics. Based on how he was raised, he's not comfortable with that type of stuff. He's only just now trying to see what he's comfortable with. And it is almost kind of like, it's almost kind of like someone a lot younger that, how some of those situations can work out. So it's, you don't want to see it. you would hope that she would have more compassion to do that, but it's a social experiment. How do these people interact when they're thrust with four walls around them and they can't get out? It's just reflecting real life behaviors, which as much as I hate seeing most of the behaviors, it's what we're coming to Big Brother for. Loving the blind sides and hoping the leftovers stick together and get what they need done. Hope Kyle doesn't go against them because he wants Alyssa out. Oh, I don't think he will. I think if anything, it'd be similar to in Big Brother 20 when some of the girls and then Tyler mentioned that JC was being inappropriate to them, and that some of them had expressed concern, but production asked them, how do you feel? Do we need to address this in any way? And they all basically said no. Is what that's what I recount, and I believe kind of the reasoning people had behind that is these specific people that happen to be on the receiving end, they all were perceived as strong, and they were assumed to be. They felt like they were strong enough to just, it's not that big a deal, get past it, and then deal with it when we get out, and not just basically not choosing to let it ruin their chance at $500,000. So I could definitely see that with Kyle. He's like, listen, it's he's not liking it, but he's like, it's not going, this occurring to me is not going to affect me as much as the $750,000. So that's kind of how the vibes I get from him. But who knows? He might really feel way too uncomfortable by it, and it really may bother him. And he does, tell production, and they will kind of have to address it some way with her, if he does mention it. And if they do address it with her, you can be sure that they'll probably you'll probably see it on the feeds one way or another. All right, we have been going for quite some time, so we need to start wrapping this up. Let's get these last few in. Someone said that Turner has kissed a girl before. That must be well, if you are actually talking about Turner, he claims to have a girlfriend at home, and apparently that girlfriend wrote him his letter from home. So who knows? She's the only one that gets to call him Maddie. Pretty sure because he was Mormon, but he has messed around with the girl and banned from going on mission. Kyle's mom has been tweeting to stay strong. LOL, his willpower is strong. Okay, so maybe he's who knows? But regardless, he is still not a very experienced person and is not very comfortable doing that. Most of that, at least, it was someone that he's not super comfortable with. So regardless, still being put in some very uncomfortable positions. I remember that. If you watch live feeds, you would see how bad it is. Yeah, like I said, I watch feeds off and on just whenever I get time. I've watched them quite a bit this week, but I haven't really paid much attention today. I've been on vacation all week, so I'll go back. Be going back to work tomorrow, so I won't get on as much as I like to. But yeah, definitely you go to live feeds and you'll see what everyone's talking about. It doesn't matter what bad behavior is going on, you will see it. Can I be a mod when your channel blows up? I haven't decided how I want to do any of that. So I won't say yes just because I don't want to say anything and without having even contemplated how I want to handle all that. Because you have to assume that my channel is going to blow up, and there's nothing to indicate that. We are not going to be arrogant in thinking that. I would love for it to. That's the goal. Being able to do this full time someday is definitely something I would love to do, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't one of my goals here. But we're just gonna enjoy having this community here, and just see where it takes us. Keep it real, folks. Yep. Thanks for stopping by, AMC Media. Really appreciate having you guys here and joining the conversation. Zoom Doof, sup? We're actually just now wrapping the stream up. But you can go back to the beginning and watch all of it as it went on, because it'll be posted. So, all right, guys, we have been going on for, stream says, hour 41. So we're going to cut it there, folks. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream tonight. It's been a lot of fun getting able to talk Big Brother with you guys all tonight. If you did enjoy the stream, make sure to hit that like. Super helpful. Helps out more than you know, really. And if you're enjoying what we're doing here and being part of these discussions and these episode recaps, hit that subscribe button. One benefit of being in one of the smaller streams is, as I heard someone else comment, you get to a higher chance at having your questions read out. So if you're looking, you have a question and you're looking for someone's perspective, you can almost guarantee that it'll be read out here. So that's one good benefit I could throw out there for you guys. But yeah, guys, like I said, if you're enjoying what we're doing, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, as you can see on screen, at Dak Chats is my Twitter. For now, until I at least am able to access community tab, that's where I will give all channel updates if we ever have to make an adjustment to the stream schedule, or anything like that. So we will go ahead and end it there. We will hear back from you guys if we don't do any live stream watch along streams, and we'll hear back from you on Wednesday, and we'll see you then.